Imagine standing in the freezing silence of a remote Arctic glacier, wind howling, ice cracking beneath your boots, and then your team uncovers something buried in ice for over 40 years. At first, it looks like a corpse. But as they dig further, they realize it's not human, not quite. What scientists found in the ancient ice was Neanderthal, but not like anything we've ever known. Tonight, we dive into the frozen past, into a discovery that's turning heads in the scientific world and sending shivers down spines. Section 1: Neanderthals. Not what we thought for years. We believed Neanderthals were our brutish cousins, extinct, primitive, and long gone. But recent discoveries are rewriting everything. They were intelligent, they made art, they buried their dead, they had rituals, and maybe even beliefs. But what if I told you the most terrifying chapter of their story hasn't even been told yet? Section 2: The Discovery in the Ice in 2023. A team of researchers in Siberia uncovered a block of ancient ice deep within a melting permafrost layer, one that had been untouched for tens of thousands of years. Inside was a near perfectly preserved Neanderthal specimen, not just bone, flesh, tissue, even remnants of blood cells, but that's not the nightmare part. When they tested the DNA, they found something unexpected. This Neanderthal wasn't like the others. It carried unknown genes, genes that don't appear in any modern humans or animals, genes linked to neurological functions, the kind that affect memory, emotion, even perception of reality. Section 3: The Clues in the Brain. Even more chilling brain scans of the preserved tissue revealed unusual folds in the cerebral cortex. These were patterns we've never seen before. Some scientists speculate they may have had heightened senses, even a form of collective memory shared among small groups. Could this be why some ancient cave paintings were eerily similar across continents? Created by people who never met, or were Neanderthals passing something down not just through teaching, but through something far stranger? Section 4: The Whisper of Viruses. And here's where it gets darker. Within the frozen blood, researchers found dormant viruses, ones that have never been recorded before. Some believe they may have been part of ancient pandemics, ones that possibly helped wipe out the Neanderthals. But others fear something more unsettling, that these viruses weren't entirely natural, that they interacted with the brain in a way no modern disease does, not killing the body, but slowly eroding the mind. Like a parasite that feeds on fear. Section 5: The Nightmare Theory. One fringe theory dismissed by mainstream science but whispered among those who have seen the data is that some Neanderthals didn't go extinct. They went underground, fled to caves, remote mountains, Arctic zones, and slowly died out, or maybe evolved into something else. There are reports even today of strange humanoid creatures seen by Arctic researchers, covered in thick hair, moving on two legs, hiding in shadows. Are they just stories, or echoes of a species we never really understood? In the vast, frozen wilderness of Siberia, a team of scientists made a discovery that would stun the world and challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. Deep beneath layers of ice and permafrost, preserved in near-perfect condition, lay the body of a Neanderthal, frozen in time for over 40 years. Unlike previous finds, which were typically skeletal remains or fragmented fossils, this was different. This specimen had skin, muscle tissue, internal organs, and even traces of blood. The extreme cold had created a natural cryogenic state, preserving the body with an eerie level of detail. Every strand of hair, every fingerprint, even the expression on its face was intact. The location of the discovery was equally mysterious. It wasn't a known Neanderthal settlement area, but rather a remote, icy expanse miles from any previously excavated site. This raised immediate questions. What was a Neanderthal doing there? Was it part of a migration, a hidden tribe, or something else entirely? As researchers began their analysis, the sense of unease deepened. The body's preservation wasn't just exceptional, it was unnatural. There were no signs of predation, no trauma, no decay. It was as if the figure had simply laid down and gone to sleep. What's more, the clothing, yes, actual remnants of woven materials, suggested a sophistication far beyond what we previously believed Neanderthals possessed. Tools found nearby were shaped with precision, some made of materials not native to the region, hinting at travel or trade. The age of the ice surrounding the body was confirmed using carbon dating, placing it well within the late Pleistocene era. Yet, anomalies in the isotopic composition of the ice suggested rapid freezing, almost instant preservation, something that doesn't align with the slow geological processes typically associated with glacial encasement. When scientists began analyzing the DNA extracted from the preserved Neanderthal found in the Siberian ice, they expected to find the typical genetic markers consistent with previously studied specimens. But what they uncovered sent shockwaves through the research community. Among the known sequences, there were strands of genetic code that had never been seen before, completely foreign to modern humans, animals, or even other archaic human species. These sequences were not just anomalies. They were highly structured, complex, and concentrated in regions of the genome associated with neurological development. What made these findings especially disturbing was their connection to specific parts of the brain responsible for cognition, emotional processing, and sensory perception. The unknown genes appeared to influence how the brain receives and processes external stimuli, particularly in areas associated with memory retention, instinctive behavior, and dream state consciousness. Some geneticists theorized that these sequences could have enhanced certain mental capacities, such as heightened awareness, intuition, or even shared mental connectivity between individuals. Further comparative analysis revealed that these unknown genes didn't mutate from any known lineage. They were isolated with no evolutionary trail, as if they had emerged from an entirely separate branch of development. This led to a controversial but increasingly discussed hypothesis that Neanderthals may have possessed cognitive traits fundamentally different from Homo sapiens, not less evolved, but evolved along an entirely different path. To deepen the mystery, the same unknown sequences were absent in all modern human populations, even those with proven Neanderthal DNA admixture. It was as if this variant of Neanderthal had been biologically quarantined from all others, preserved in the ice like a forgotten relic of a divergent human species. Researchers were left wondering whether these unique genes had provided this group of Neanderthals with abilities or perceptions humans have never experienced. The preserved brain tissue recovered from the Neanderthal specimen revealed patterns unlike anything previously observed in archaic humans or Homo sapiens. Using advanced imaging techniques such as high-resolution MRI and digital reconstruction, scientists were able to study the folds, ridges, and neural architecture of the cerebral cortex with unprecedented clarity. What they found defied conventional understanding of Neanderthal brain function. Specific regions of the frontal and temporal lobes, areas responsible for complex thinking, language, and emotional regulation, displayed intricate folding patterns and expanded surface areas that suggested a previously unrecognized level of cognitive development. Most striking was the discovery of symmetrical neural networks that appeared to mirror one another across both hemispheres of the brain. This bilateral balance is rarely seen in humans, and it hinted at enhanced neural efficiency, possibly supporting theories of faster memory access, stronger intuition, or simultaneous processing of abstract and sensory information. Even more unusual were certain clusters of neurons found in the parietal region, linked to spatial awareness and perception. These formations were dense and organized in a lattice-like configuration, leading some researchers to speculate that the individual may have experienced reality in a fundamentally different way than modern humans do. These unique features sparked bold hypotheses, one of the most provocative, that Neanderthals might have possessed a form of shared memory or primitive collective consciousness, an ability to communicate or transfer experiences in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Supporting this theory were similarities between the brain structures and cave art found thousands of miles apart, which displayed near-identical patterns, symbols, and arrangements. Some experts proposed that these were not mere coincidences or cultural diffusion, but physical evidence of a neurobiological link between Neanderthal communities separated by great distances. The possibility of interlinked cognition among an ancient human species has opened doors to ideas once considered pure science fiction. During the cellular analysis of the frozen Neanderthals' preserved blood, researchers encountered something entirely unexpected: ancient viral agents trapped within red blood cell membranes and tissue fragments. These weren't like any known pathogens cataloged in modern virology. Their genetic structures were erratic, fragmented, yet active enough to react when exposed to current biological media. Under the microscope, these viral strains exhibited behavior suggesting a unique kind of latency, capable of lying dormant for tens of thousands of years without degrading. This alone was a significant discovery, but what truly disturbed the research team was their interaction with neural cells. In controlled lab environments, when introduced to samples of brain tissue, human and non-human alike, the viruses displayed a specific affinity for neurons and glial cells. Instead of destroying the cells as most viruses do, these ancient agents began integrating into the host's cellular processes. Some even embedded themselves within the DNA of nerve cells, subtly altering the way those cells transmitted electrical signals. Researchers noticed irregular spikes in activity, changes in rhythm, and disruption in standard brainwave patterns. These effects mirrored symptoms associated with cognitive disorders, hallucinations, and dissociative states in modern psychology. The viral proteins also exhibited molecular structures that could mimic neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. The implications were staggering. These viruses may not have been purely biological weapons of disease, but agents of neurological influence. It raised the terrifying possibility that Neanderthals may have lived under the constant mental influence of something parasitic, something that manipulated thought, emotion, or perception at the deepest level. Some scientists even suggested that these viruses might have contributed not just to illness, but to the shaping of Neanderthal behavior, rituals, or even their decline. Whether these agents emerged naturally or were the result of unknown environmental pressures remains a matter of intense debate and secrecy among those closest to the research. In the wake of the Neanderthal discovery, one theory has begun gaining traction among fringe researchers and even a few cautious mainstream scientists: that Neanderthals may not have gone fully extinct, but instead retreated into isolated, unexplored regions of the Earth. Historical records from remote mountain cultures and Arctic tribes have long spoken of encounters with strange, human-like beings, covered in thick hair with deep, set eyes and primitive tools, beings that vanished before true contact could be made. These stories were often dismissed as folklore or misidentified wildlife. But in light of recent findings, they are being reconsidered with a new lens. The discovery site itself raises questions. The remote Siberian ice field where the specimen was found is not a location where Neanderthals were ever expected to be. There are no known migration routes through that region, and yet the body was not alone. Nearby ice cores contained fragments of other biological material, hair, bone chips, and even preserved fecal matter, suggesting a small group once lived or traveled through this area. Combined with artifacts such as finely shaped flint tools and remnants of shelter-like structures, the evidence points to a nomadic group surviving in secret far longer than previously believed. The extreme cold may have acted as a natural preservation chamber, but it may also have served as a kind of barrier, keeping others out and them in. Caves sealed by centuries of ice, crevices never explored, and massive subterranean networks beneath mountain ranges remain largely uncharted. Some believe that surviving pockets of Neanderthals, or perhaps their descendants, could have adapted further, physically and mentally, becoming something distinct from both ancient Neanderthals and modern humans. Occasional sightings, unexplainable cave markings, and mysterious humanoid footprints in uninhabited regions continue to feed speculation that the story of Neanderthals is far from over.